So what can happen if it's really cold? Well, you can go into hypothermia. You can have frostbite on your fingers and your toes. So those, extremities, how do you protect that? What you're gonna do is you're gonna look at the hierarchy of controls.
A common framework to address hazards in the workplace is the hierarchy of controls. Elimination, substitution, engineering controls, administrative controls, and personal protective equipment, or PPE, are the 5 categories that make up the hierarchy, ranging from most to least effective.
So elimination, what is the element? The element is it's cold. So I'm trying to heat that environment and eliminate the cold. We just can't always control those conditions. So when you're substituting for the weather, the easiest one is to change the time of year. It's fall or it's spring.
If it's possible, plan for the work to be done during a time of year or time of day when temperatures are milder. Elimination and substitution are the most powerful ways to reduce hazards, but some hazards, like the climate, cannot be altered or removed from the workplace.
So engineering controls for cold stress, we can add an engineering control. We are eliminating it through a barrier, through a process, using a heating element for those areas that can be. Maybe we could have a room in that environment where they can go into that is always going to be at a temperature that would be conducive to an employee being able to warm up.
Cold metal surfaces should be insulated or replaced, and equipment should be selected for safe operation to accommodate for thick gloves or mittens. Wind and drafts increase the wind chill and risk of cold stress. Blocking or shielding workers from blowing air can help them maintain adequate body heat.
So administrative controls are where we put a program in place that we're going to administer.
Programs and policies should include environmental monitoring and protocols to protect workers from hazardous conditions.
Maybe one of the administrative controls is going to be how many hours will you be allowed to be in that environment? What kind of breaks will you have?
Scheduling outdoor jobs during the warmest time of day avoids prolonged exposures for sedentary tasks, and educate employees to recognize the signs and symptoms of cold stress in their coworkers.
So when we have a hierarchy of controls, we're trying to eliminate the use of or the need for personal protective equipment. PPE can just be so burdensome that it can create hazards of itself, trying to protect somebody.
The personal protective equipment for cold stress are often simple things that we would do in our everyday life. Adding layers, hats, gloves, hand warmers, insulated and waterproof clothing, there are plenty to name. But PPE by itself is not a solution, as it is putting the burden on the employee. PPE must be coupled with other layers of the hierarchy to reduce that burden. The hierarchy separates all 5 levels, but the hierarchy works at its best when multiple levels are being utilized at once. To use an example given by Peggy, PPE also requires training and policies to define when and how it should be used.
So now we can buy and create engineering practices or administrative controls or PPE together to make sure that we're always protected for that environment. I think the most important thing when we look at the hierarchy of controls, the very top, if we can eliminate the hazard, then we don't need to go further, right? And so when you look at the hierarchy and we talk about engineering control, so we're going to get the best piece of equipment that's going to help us eliminate a hazard. And then we're going to do administrative controls, because now we're going to write a program of how we're going to use that and how we're going to train. And then we're talking about PPE as a last resort. So using both your administrative controls and your PPE would work well together. And so sometimes you'll have to bounce into each of those hierarchies to control the hazard, because the ultimate goal is to make it a safe place for employees to work so they get to go home to their families.